Hello students, welcome to today's chemistry session. So I hope you are all set for the class. So we have finished with the first chapter, that was classification of elements and the periodicity properties. So we move on with the second chapter, that is the structure of an atom. Now we have already studied that an atom consists of electrons and we wrote electronic configuration. We have already studied their properties and all. But right now in this chapter we will focus on how an atom is present, okay, inside a matter, and also their different theories, different models which have been arranged in order to find the structure of an atom. All these will be studying in this chapter. So this chapter is very interesting too. Okay, so starting with the structure of an atom, before getting into that, you should know that how they have arrived to the structure of an atom, or how they have arrived to a point that matter consists of atoms. So we have studied in our lower classes saying that during the 400 BC, our Indian and Greek philosophers actually had an idea in order to find what is matter made up of. So these Indian and Greek philosophers say that if you keep on dividing a particular matter, suppose if I take this chalk piece, if I keep on dividing this, you ultimately attain a stage wherein you can't divide that particular atom still more. And that particular stage where it is undivisible later on is called the atom. So we say atoms are the building blocks of matter, right? So after that, later on, by getting this idea of the philosophy, later on the scientists started, doing experimental theories and also giving up, some laws wherein they had to actually find out what this atom could be. So after this, there were scientists named as Democritus, Leucippus. They said that if you keep on dividing a matter, you ultimately reach a stage where you get the atom. And also they give different clues that, some of the experiments were present wherein you start combing your hair and then that comb is being, kept in contact with the pieces of paper. So slowly you see that the pieces of paper start attracting them, indicating that those pieces of paper and the comb have some attraction between them. That atom cannot be the last end for a matter, okay, for a matter. Instead, there are some charged particles which are present inside. So this was a clue they were getting, but the problem was they didn't have any experimental evidences. It was only about theories. They had some ideas, they were writing it and they were producing it, but there was no experimental evidence. So then later on, after that, in 1808, even a scientist named as Dalton comes up with a theory saying Dalton's atomic theory, wherein he gives various postulates that how an atom could be. Like if you have an atom, they are said to be indivisible particles, we say. Okay, and also if you focus on one metal, suppose copper, it has only copper atoms and they have their own properties. But if you have two different elements, they will have different physical and different chemical properties. So all these theories were made up by different scientists where there were no experimental evidences for these. After that, after this Dalton's atomic theory, later on scientists actually wanted to find out what must be present inside an atom. You know that there are subatomic particles inside an atom called as electrons, protons and neutrons. So this experimental idea of how these are being present inside an atom, that they wanted to find out. Okay, so but the main problems these scientists, what they were facing before was that they have to account for the stability of an atom. First of all, an atom should be stable. So all these ideas they didn't have, and also you have to differentiate between the physical and the chemical properties. If you are finding out what is present, you have to account for all these factors. Stability of an atom, producing the physical and chemical properties, all these. And also the study about electromagnetic radiations. All these problems they faced during that time. Later on, in around 1850s, okay, many scientists, but mainly Michael Faraday, okay, what does he do? He does an experimental setup to actually find out what are these matter made up of or atom made up of, okay. So finding out the subatomic particles in an atom present. So before that, Dalton gives various laws like law of conservation of mass, then you had law of constant proportions, law of multiple proportions, all these you have studied, right? So all these were given, but later on, in 1850s, scientists, namely, that is mainly Faraday, okay, he gives an electric discharge tube. He takes an experimental setup, something like this, and this tube is called the electric discharge tube, electrical discharge tube. So you can imagine it is just like a tube light, okay. You have a glass tube, okay, at the two ends you have metal surfaces, right. So these are the electrodes which are kept. One is cathode, the other one is anode. Two metal electrodes are kept. A tube is taken, a glass tube called as electric discharge tube is taken, and these are the evacuated tubes wherein a very light gas is taken. For example, hydrogen gas is taken inside, okay, but with very low pressure. At a very low pressure, this hydrogen gas is being filled into this tube, wherein you also have two electrodes. So the vacuum pump is there in order to maintain the pressures. So it should be at a low pressure, remember that. And also these metal electrodes are connected to a high voltage power supply. So you have cathode which is connected to the negative terminal of the battery, and that's why it is called as cathode. Negatively charged electrode is called cathode, and you have a positively charged electrode which is called as anode. This is connected to positive terminal of the power supply. So a high voltage is given and a low pressure is being maintained for the gas. Okay, so remember that you have two electrodes. Now, after this gas is being taken, suppose hydrogen gas is being taken at a very low pressure and you supply high voltage. As soon as you apply high voltage, okay, what happens is that these gas molecules, okay, will try splitting themselves or ionizing themselves, and then there is a gas discharge taking place. Now what do you mean by electrical discharge or gas discharge? Electricity is being released. Okay, in order to release they have to ionize or they have to split. This H2 gas will split into plus and minus ions. So wherein you get these gas discharge you see. So the gas discharge takes place at a very low pressure, and you see that a stream of particles, okay, so there are some particles which move in the opposite direction, okay, wherever the current is supplied or the power supply is given to that, there is a stream of particles which goes from one end to the other. Now which end to the which end? Now from here there is a stream of particles which moves from cathode to anode. They find that some particles are being moving from cathode to anode as soon as you supply the high voltage, high power supply is given. So you see that a stream of particles move from one end to the other, that is from cathode to anode, which was called as the cathode rays. Okay, cathode rays. Now why is it called the cathode rays? Because it travels from cathode to anode. It goes from the end, which end? Cathode end to the anode end. So this was seen during this experiment. That is, there is some discharge taking place. There is some flow of current or flow of stream of particles. Okay, it is passing from cathode to anode. So this was taking place as soon as you apply low pressure and high voltage. So the current starts flowing, you see. That's why you call it as electrical discharge. Now, in order to make a better idea of what exactly is being moving from one end to the other end, why is it called as cathode rays? The confirmation of cathode rays was also done, okay, by coating a fluorescent material. Like you have it in TVs, right? You have cathode ray tubes inside TVs. Okay, the older television version. There you see that on the screen you get the image or the light, right? That is due to the coating of this fluorescent material. And these cathode ray tube will be present behind, which pushes a stream of particles towards the screen. So as soon as it reaches the screen, you get the image or the light. In the same way, in order to get to know that there is flow of stream of particles, the end behind the anode is being coated by a fluorescent material, fluorescent or phosphor So they usually emit light. Okay. So a bright light was seen on behind the screen here, behind the anode, which was coated by a fluorescent material, which is also zinc sulfide. So zinc sulfide coating was done. That is a fluorescent material, which shows a beautiful beam of light or a bright spot as soon as these particles reach the other end. So by this they got to know, okay, this is the direction of these particles, from which end? Cathode to anode. And also, still more, in order to study the characteristics of these particles, what did they do is that they try applying electric field. Electric field near the anode is being put up. For example, here a positive metal plate was kept, and here a negative plate was kept. Okay, so you had two metal electric fields there. As soon as the electric field was supplied, when you have a stream of particles coming from this way, okay, they reach this end, correct? As soon as they reach this end, what is the exact charge present in them? In order to find that, so when as soon as you apply this electric field, you see that these particles, okay, they started deviating towards the upper side. They started moving to the upper corner of the electric field. That means a positive electric field, right? Towards the positive place. So it started deviating towards the upper side of this electric field, indicating that these particles are actually negatively charged. Electrons are negatively charged, right? So these negatively charged plates, the rays, they started attracting the positive electric field or the positive metal plate, indicating that these are actually negatively charged particles. Got it? So you know that like charges actually repel and unlike charges attract. So here unlike charges attract, which means that these are negatively charged and the positive plate is being attracted by them. Okay, so they started deviating. So in a better way, they could actually make out that these subatomic particles are negatively charged and they are called as electrons, right? So after this, after they got to know, okay, an atom actually consists, an atom of which gas is being taken here? Hydrogen gas. So you saw that hydrogen gas, there is a discharge from it and there is flow of current, which was also indicated by a beam of light, or the screen was actually illuminated by them due to the fluorescent material. And also when an electric field or magnetic field is applied, they start deviating from the actual direction, okay, indicating that they are negatively charged particles. So by this they actually got to know that an atom actually consists of a subatomic particle which is called electrons. Okay, so let us just conclude of what we have got by this cathode ray tube experiment. That is, cathode rays move from cathode to anode. That's the first one, right? They move from cathode to anode. Okay, and this is actually a positively charged plate, correct? So negatively charged particles come and attract towards the positively charged plate. And also they are visible using only the fluorescent or phosphorescent materials. You cannot see them through your naked eye. Instead, the screen gets actually illuminated when you coat it by a fluorescent or phosphorescent material. And in the absence of electric or magnetic fields, they actually travel in a straight line. Only when the electric field is being applied, they start deviating. If there is no electric field or magnetic field is applied, they move in a straight line itself. They directly go and hit the screen in a straight line. Okay? And in the presence of electric and magnetic field, they act as a negatively charged particle which is called as electrons. So as soon as you apply the electric field, they start deviating. Even if you apply a magnetic field, they start deviating from the actual direction which is a straight line. So these are negatively charged particles which are called electrons. And their characteristics, their properties do not depend on the material of electrodes and the nature of gas. It doesn't depend on the material of what electrodes you take. Okay? The properties does not depend on them. And also the nature of the gas. Okay? It doesn't depend on the nature of the gas and the material of the electrodes. So they have a particular property of showing up, that is moving from the cathode end to the anode end, and that's why these are called as cathode rays, and the tube is actually called as cathode ray tube. So by this they come to a very important constituent of an atom, which is called as the electron. Okay, so one subatomic particle is being found out after doing this experiment. So this is the cathode ray tube experiment. So please go through this once again. I hope you have done points too. So in the next class, let us move on to how the other different subatomic particles are being found, and also we will look into more about these electrons, okay, their charge, their mass and all. So I hope this much is clear. See you in the next class. Thank you.